So welcome everybody to the September 14, 2020 Village of Redhook monthly board meeting. Today being September 14th, the second Monday. It's interesting in that it's the month's halfway gone and it's the second Monday. Usually our meetings are much earlier in a given month. So we're about 2 weeks in and 2 weeks left in September, which is a little scary when we think of weather and changes going on. Tonight's a little cool outside. As is our custom, we're still doing COVID-19 remote virtual meetings since about March, and we're following executive order parameters that initiate with 202.1 and continuing, which means we've circulated to the media, to our website, and different other places the Ring Central hyperlink and phone me, and it's available to anybody who requests a transcript. But I'm getting a message right now. My internet connection is unstable on the Village Hall.
Yeah, you got a little bit.
So we have fiber optics here, so it's a little scary.
You sound like you're speaking through an auto tune or something again.
That's upsetting to me because I'm showing a strong internet signal on my computer, and we deliberately put fiber optics into this building 3 years ago. So
you're good now.
Is it back? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for whatever happened there to Spectrum, and we're back. So what I'd like to do is, since we're all in 5 or 6 different locations instead of the stand and pledge the flag, why don't we just do a moment of contemplation and silence for our essential workers who are still working hard, our first responders, and those affected locally with illness from COVID. And we'll take just a 15-second moment of silence. Thank you. We have minute approval. We had 2 meetings in August. One was August 10th, one was August 20th. They've been circulated for review. I reviewed them. I would ask, are there any other additions, alterations, or corrections? Hearing none, I would move that we accept those 2 sets of minutes. I'll offer a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And maybe I would ask for a roll call vote, which we'll have to do. So Cray, Brent, call check. You good? I don't know if he's on mute. We'll go to Jay Trapp.
Aye.
Yes.
I heard.
Yep.
And Brent. Jennifer Norris.
Yep.
And Charlie Lang.
Yeah. Did you hear me?
I think
Okay.
you're going through an internet shrinkage bandwidth problem. But you sound like a robot from Mars trying to talk. But, hopefully that corrects, because he has to talk a lot in about 20 minutes. As I mentioned before we got the meeting formally going, the past 3 weeks, we lost one of our active community persons, Kathy Treble, who those of us in the celebrations and non-celebrations world here in the village knew quite well. She always helped us with Hard Scrabble Day, Red Hook Halloween, Egg Scramble, Winterfest, and she was so active and so sincere at each one of those events, and I think every kid and every parent in Red Hook knew her. She did not reside right in the village, but I thought in her memory we'll do 2 things. One is, as a custom, we'll do a blank page. We'll ask our clerk to leave a blank page in a minutes with her name on it in her memory. And then later on we'll talk about, we have the Village Green Committee. We've signaled them that we'd like to somehow find an appropriate planting place and put a tree and a plaque in her memory somewhere in the village, leaning toward one of our parks. But we'll do those 2 things, but let's leave the blank page. And we've accepted the minutes. Thank you. We'll go to the business side of things. I show the Treasury Report being next, and Ray couldn't join the meeting tonight, which is fine. He's been hard at work. We have circulated digitally the report. Right now, the treasurers, I'll read it out for us. We're showing in the general fund a balance of $1,026,831. In the water fund, $77,195. Trust and agency, $19,749. Petty cash, $57.75. Village Green, $4,149. Hard scrabble, $3,683. Health insurance, $3,307. Sewer fund, $28,760. And we have this new trend here. We're reporting the reserve balances. Maybe, I don't know if I hear Brent's chair, but if Brent could mute himself, please. Fire department reserve, we have $5,028. Police reserve, $14,571. USDA short-term asset, that's a water reserve, $108,912. Highway reserve, $20,766. Snow reserve, $3,278. Tower reserve, $17,705. Unemployment, $4,542. Court reserve, $3,297. Office reserve, $972. Most of those reserve accounts are in CDs and not really earning any whopping interest anymore, but that's where they are. The most active one, like, would be the USDA short-term asset fund. That's where we can use for water repairs on infrastructure, on certain type items. Anyway, expenses this month, they're in the voucher packs, and I'd ask that those that haven't reviewed and signed yet, if you can come in tomorrow sometime so the staff can get the checks out. But general fund, we have $103,859 in monthly expenses. Water fund was $63,822. Trust and agency was $19,749. One thing in the water fund, I was talking to Treasurer Ray Toll, and this was the month we pay just about $44,000 in phase 2 water principal and interest. And that is budgeted for, and that's driving that $63,000 number. We didn't have any major repairs that drove that kind of a number. That's what we have. And the treasurer did supply all of us with the detailed backup sheets. Just a thought, if you do the math, we're 3.5 months into the fiscal year, which, to be precise, is about 29% of the fiscal year. I was looking at expenses and revenue. Everything seems to be holding within the patterns we projected as far as expenses, and nothing major is jumping up. But like we keep reminding ourselves, we're not totally sure in the course of the entire year where we're going to sit with sales tax revenue, certain aspects of chips, and the two major things for us. We do know that court revenue is going to be impacted too, because the courts are not fully open yet. So I've reviewed that. It's been sent around to all of you. I don't know if anybody had any thoughts or questions. I think we will be doing, later on in the meeting, we'll talk about some water repairs we'll be doing. We'll probably take some of that USDA reserve money and use that instead of the general operating budget of water. We will be doing another, in the week here, another September, another quarter of water bills will go out. So that fund replenishes 4 times a year. All that done and said, I would ask that we move to accept the report from the treasurer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll do that. Next down is, I have the police report in front of me for the month of August. Incidents seem to be hanging about the same number, 392. Breakout is 250 in the village of Red Hook, 138 in the town of Red Hook, 4 in Tivoli. It was showing here too that we had 98 traffic tickets issued. The breakout there is 60 in the village of Red Hook, no parking tickets issued, and 38 tickets were in the town of Red Hook. Arrests were 15. The breakout is 6 in the village and 9 in the town. I did have something, I don't know if I had it for the last meeting, but we do have that speed trailer, and we put it out on Park Avenue, and it's giving some nice data. What you're looking at there is, I don't have it on a digital file. It was left here for me as a paper copy, but it can give, this is a a sampling of July 31 to August 18th and gives the traffic count through that period of time. And then by time of day, the speed and those over 30 miles an hour, over 36 miles an hour. And essentially, I'll put it back up, but in the green means people are doing 30 miles per hour or less. And we would want, let's see, I can't do this, but you can see most are in the green. The police, we'll have to remind them, we'd like to put this out, especially with school starting, certain other locations. Just, it's good, I think, for two reasons. We can see that is really important for us to see and the general public to know about. And we'll have to find a way to get a digital copy of that so I can pass that around to all of you. That's the police report. I think we can therefore move, let's see, Trustee Trapp. We know you have the financial aspect of the report, and then you want to give your general talk, the financial piece
Sure.
of the planning and zoning, and then Lara can fill us in. Did you say, Lara, you had that page of?
I do, yeah.
A hard copy, right? Yeah.
Okay. Jay,
Okay.
you're on.
We had a Dutchess County Planning Federation Board of Directors virtually last week. We are down a couple of members. So, we're going to be looking for some folks to come in. We had one, the vice president has, I think he's no longer on a qualifying board, so we're going to have to look for somebody to replace Mike McCormick. And we wrote him and thanked him for his service. And he's been on the board. He was on the board before I got there, so he's been on for quite some time. We were trying to schedule some of our meetings, and it's getting easier because we used to suspend our meetings in December, January, February, just on the threat of people traveling halfway across Dutchess County in the ice and snow and things like that. Now, virtually, we are able to, we can schedule them pretty much anytime, and we have purchased an annual subscription to I think it's called Zoom video meetings, which allows up to 500 attendees, up to 100 presenters. I mean, we'll never have that many presenters, but there can be a couple of hosts. There is no interaction. It's viewing only. You can't speak to interrupt the presenters, but you can type in and chat that way, and the questions will be read out by the host, who is Heather. So Heather would be the one with all those duties, trying to catch up on all the typing that's coming in. So that's going to be our platform. I think, a lot of the times there were less than, it's either 100, 150 or 200, and we broke 200 almost every time we've had a virtual meeting. So we had to go with the 500. And we're still trying to get Ann and Ken Carney to do the affordable housing. And there's some issues, and we are still working on our fall presentation schedule. We're a little bit discombobulated here trying to get everything together. Heather is somewhat stressed out working halfway home and in the office. That's what's going on there. Brent and I, Larissa and Ray, met this past Friday with the zoning revisions committee, and we had some discussions with Michelle Gregg concerning a way to get things settled out so that she could put together a defensible neg deck for seeker so that we could then move forward. Nothing has substantially changed. Some ideas, some tweaks and things like that. We're going to add a few revisions to some definitions and take a lot or two out, put a lot in from different things like that. So we're working pretty well there. And on the planning and zoning world, all I have on my end here is that the building department in August took in $3,475, which is a really good month, given the considerations of what we're going through right now, and that So Laura, if you want to read the building permits and COs and all that sort of thing, do you
Sure.
have that?
Yep.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
So there were 5 building permits issued, 1 certificate of occupancy, 4 certificates of compliance, and 4 municipal searches, 9 fire inspections, 1 complaint was for a property maintenance. The planning board actions, a site plan approval was granted to property at 7582 North Broadway. And the board approved resolution 2020-3 to extend approval of preliminary subdivision plat for Anderson's Common project located at Fisk and Baxter. Zoning board meeting, which was held on August 27th. A public hearing was set for area variances for 2 properties on Cambridge Drive. That's it.
Cool.
Thank you.
And I think that's good.
Okay, Jay, thank you.
Yep.
Why don't we move to Trustee Norris with regard to celebrations and material management and whatever else is on her mind?
Well, we had virtual Hardscrabble Day on Saturday, which I think went well. I wasn't able to participate in any of it, but I think they had some technical difficulties to get started, but I think people actually really enjoyed it. There was a lot of food demonstrations, and I think there was yoga, and I saw sheep involved somewhere. All those videos, I believe, are going to be available on YouTube and or Facebook down the road. They're just in the process of being uploaded. So thank you so much to the historic Redhawk and Redhawk Public Library for taking that on. That was it was very weird to not have painted my toenails this year. But we had good weather, so I'm feeling a little weird about all that. So anyway, so that was Hardscrabble Day. Ed and I have been discussing Halloween. We don't quite know what to do. We don't feel that there's really any logistical way to do it and make it safe. And we've been talking to the library about possible pumpkin decorating ideas with different shifts, but it's a lot of logistics. So we don't know. This might just be the year that that is a wash, and we'll pick it up again next year.
Give out virtual candy.
I did see on Facebook someone had like a PVC pipe that was like 6 feet long, and you would shove the candy down to get to the kid. I don't know. Anyway, as far as garbage is concerned, for the month of August, we sold $2,106 in tags and paid out $982.62. We had 9.13 tons of garbage and 4.11 tons of recycling, which breaks down as 1.42 tons of newspaper, 0.47 tons of cardboard, and 2.22 tons of commingled. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
2 things on Jen's report on the wonderful subject of garbage. I was talking with Highway Foreman Dan Stribe this morning early, and he was saying that we should remind people in our newsletter and on this forum too. We do have commingled recycling, and we have then on a separate day newspaper/cardboard recycling, and we alternate that through the month. The newspaper has to be separate from the cardboard. So what we did, the board, remember, we built in our hauling trailer 2 separate sections or bins. So our guys throw the cardboard into one and the newspaper into another, and it has to be that way. Otherwise we get faulted for bringing over contaminated cardboard and newspaper, which has bad implications. And the second factor, we need to remind folks that in the commingled, it has to be the numbers in the cans and glass and plastics that we can refer, our website has certain things, and then we take our product to Ulster County Resource Recovery. They have a website too that explains a lot of detail what they accept. But there have been a couple of oddball things thrown in periodically, and that don't meet the mix requirements, and we get the same threat. As we all know, the garbage is $103, $105 a ton. And right now, recycling is free to us. The Resource Recovery Agency over there threatens to charge us the full weight per ton for something that's not properly sorted, which would hurt us in many ways, hurt the recycling effort, and hurt us financially. So we'll put that in our newsletter too. And I know in the past, we put some sort of guide, what's recyclable, what's not. We'll look that up again and see what we have. But if you could tell your friends and neighbors that recycle, to keep it split and clean, and we'll keep the process going. On the talk about Halloween with Redhook, it is a little early out, but here it is mid-September. I don't think we as a village can do our normal Redhook Halloween. You all recall we used our parking lot, we did a mini parade, and it was really a lot of fun. We helped work a chili contest with a bank sponsor. I just don't see any way we can do that kind of a gathering, even with any safety precautions. You're dealing with kids that are like from 8 months old to 8 years old is our main customer base, and their parents, and it's just a hard crowd to work with. Unless somebody had an idea, we were talking about trunk or treating, we heard of different things, but almost everything implies or requires some sort of focal gathering point where a lot of people are going to be trying to get something. And I really don't see our merchants ready or in the mood for doing anything. Gatherings inside wouldn't really work. Like Jen mentioned, maybe something with the library. Where in years past, what we do is we would buy the pumpkin supply from local farmers, and then Funshine Nursery and different folks would handle the decorating. But unless somebody has some great idea, I just don't see how we could pull it off. And I think we're going to be waiting. I think we sent something around today. I presume that the state level is going to give guidance on Halloween trick-or-treating across the state. It just doesn't seem like a good idea to have here in the village residents opening their doors to 4 to 12 people on their porch handing out candy. I don't see a good, safe way to make it all happen. And I'm sure there's going to be some guidance as far as what size gatherings and how to control trick-or-treating. If anybody had any strident, strong, creative idea how to get around something, right now, perhaps the library and some pumpkin decorating with some sort of scheduled arrival times could work, but that they would have to work on that. We don't have the manpower or the skill set to time that out and do all day for that. It's sad, it's unfortunate, but the B side of it is, even in the old days, people are always leery of candy from strangers and different things. I wonder this year if you got who's touched the candy and where's it been, and when your kid's going to eat it, who's going to be making sure it's all safe and clean. Those things all seem to point to a sad, like Jen was saying, no hardscrabble and no Halloween, and I don't see what we can do.
I recommend you go to CVS, buy a big bag of Reese cups and sit at home and eat them.
Hey, I'm trying to lose weight, man. Anyway. All right. Well, thanks, Jen. Thanks for the report. And we'll keep each other posted on what we see from the state and what we might be able to do. Anyway, we did Ms. Norris, water. Mr. Trustee Lang, are you out there in virtual land? I see your face. Would you like to talk water?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Assuming everybody can hear me.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so I have the Village of Redhook Water Treatment Facilities monthly report here for August. And the water treatment facility treated 9,846,100 total gallons, which is an average of 317,600 gallons a day. And as for the little chart here, of course, it's back to front, but we're coming down a little bit off a very high volume period. So, but I mean, that might just be reflecting seasonal changes and people not watering their lawns so much. I mean, I think we still have outstanding concerns about leakage and use water that's disappearing somewhere. We also sent out 3 bacteriological samples that were tested for coliform and E. coli, and they all came back clean. So that's always reassuring. And then the last statistic is chemical usage. And during the month of August, the treatment plant used 95 gallons of sodium hypochlorite, which is an average daily use of 3.06 gallons per day. We also, with that report, we get the daily volumes. And again, I mean, there were a couple of days, the highest day was 469,900 gallons, which is huge. Mm-hmm. And there was there were 2 other over 400,000 gallon days. So, I mean, clearly we've still got things that we need to figure out.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. Charlie and I were communicating a little bit. We're looking at that one high day was a Saturday, but then subsequent Saturdays don't necessarily repeat that high number. Trying to find a trend. The board has authorized that company in Northeast Water to do some more high-tech, sophisticated leak searches. He has been out. He keeps us updated. He did report one area and marked it out in Redhook Estates. Our guys are going to dig that. That sounds to be a noise at a main, and our crew is going to dig it up. A week from Wednesday, they're going to go dig that up.
Okay.
Shouldn't be any interruption of service or anything. It's if there is, we'll work with that and get notice out, but it's doesn't seem that big a deal. He did find some noise on East Market Street, and he needs to work with our crew to shut off some valves in the area. Apparently he has really sophisticated listening equipment, different than what we used with rural water. They were our first recourse maybe 6 weeks ago, plus or minus, and that's when we changed out a few hydrant areas. Like Charlie said, it's come down a little bit, not that much.
Not significantly.
So yeah, so we're still looking. And I do have a separate theory we're working on too. Those big commercial accounts of ours that have compound meters, and are they properly coded into our software billing? Because the billing, if it's not being done right, is misreading the consumption. I don't think it's a fault with our software company. It's something we have to examine. So with the next billing cycle here coming out, probably next 10 days, we're going to do some manual review of some known compound meter accounts and just see if their consumption matches what we think it should be, and have we got their meters coded properly into the system? Because if they're not on, they could be using far more water than we're actually showing them using. And it's some technical issues, but we're going to work on that. And I have a feeling there might be something there too, but we'll have to see about that.
Is that anything like what happened at the well fields with Central Hudson and their meters over there? Remember that snafu where they said we owed them more money than we thought we did because they weren't doing a multiplier or something of that sort?
Yeah, you know, I forgot about that. That was quite a while ago, but I think it is, Jay. What we have in the compound meter world, those are the accounts that use a lot of water in more sudden, say, daytime bursts, and then they use hardly any, depending on the type of business.
Gotcha.
Cycle goes up and down. So there's a high meter and a low meter, and they're supposed to be coded, and they have a multiplier of another 0. So if your home meter, you would put this second 0 into the system. So somebody might be using, say, I don't know, 12,000 gallons of water, but if they're not coded right, it could, in a multimeter like that, it should be, another 0 would be 120,000 gallons of water. So we have to examine them, just why they're not popping and if that's the problem. But it could explain, Charlie and everybody, what we think is lost water is we're actually moving it, but it's just not being properly read by those meters, which is not even a meter fault. I think it's just we have to be sure every one of those commercial meters that is a compound meter has that second multiplier, the second 0 digit, and giving us the right volume. And it hits us two ways. If it's not there, we're losing revenue, and B, we're pushing water that we're really not measuring. And so I'm not sure it's the answer, but it seems like it's definitely worth looking at, and we're going to do that. Thank you, Charlie. Looks like we could move to Deputy Mayor Kowalchuk. I think he's talking to us via his phone. He might be having
Yep,
internet.
I'm having problems getting connection. Can you
Yeah.
see me at all, or just?
We see a green dot, but you sound good, and you look.
Okay, I'm on the phone, so.
You look a little better than normal, to be honest. So. Let's
Oh,
see.
well, that's good then.
I'm only kidding.
All right.
Yeah. Well, we're ready for your work, and if we hear you breaking up, we'll let you know.
All right, thanks. I'll start with the Village Green Committee monthly report, community beautification. These are the related budget accounts. Community beautification, we have $4,000. Shade tree contractual, we are negative $3,100. We had allocated money, and there were some extra tree pruning that we did in the village general business district, and then we had a big locust tree come down behind CVS in the Methodist Cemetery, an emergency. So we took that down, so that would account for the overages on that one. The Village Green Committee's checking account remains at $4,192.82. And we did have a live Village Green Committee meeting on August 19th, and we held it at the Eat and Go, and I think we had a full house. You know, everyone there. We used 5 tables for 6 people, so we were socially distanced. And we talked about our fall planting day, which we're planning to do in November. And so we are preparing potential sites, which we have quite a few of since we didn't plant in the spring. We also are looking to prepare the Tree City USA application, which is due in December. And we're looking at Arbor Day celebration seedling distributions. And we've been having some concerns about people accepting these free seedlings, but we're looking at alternative locations, mainly in the business districts and schools and cultural institutions such as the community center as a place to distribute the tree seedlings. We also discussed the need for many newly planted street trees to be pruned, and we're hoping to do that in the fall. And there was a grant award, or a grant that we were applying for of $1,000 to communities that have been Tree City USA communities for at least 5 years. I believe we're going on 20, so we definitely qualified. And Brenda Cagle and Michael Johnson were working on that, and I haven't heard the status of that, so I believe the deadline was today, so we'll have that. And then any businesses or residents interested in having a tree planted on their adjacent right-of-ways, or volunteering for planting days, or making the donations to support the various community beautification projects may contact David Pearson, the village clerk, or myself. The highway monthly report. The highway department is picking up leaves and brush on the first Monday of the month, and that's schedule and weather permitting. And residents are reminded to place lawn debris and brush in separate piles curbside and not in the road. And please limit the size of brush piles to 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet, with branches no larger than 6 inches in diameter. And please limit the brush piles to 1 pile per house. Brush that includes tree trunks, stumps, garbage, construction material will not be picked up. And unfortunately, the village is no longer picking up grass clippings. So if you have grass clippings out, you please find another location for them. Maybe a good mulch pile would be good. That would be good. The Village Board of Trustees approved the purchase of a new truck on August 20th at a workshop. And this truck will replace existing truck number 14. And we had gone to all the allocations at the previous meeting. And we did find out that this truck will not be available until February. So we are hoping to get this in time for winter plowing. We've been reassured by the highway department personnel that our existing truck will somehow crawl to making the necessary services of removing snow. And I believe we're also ordering the plow, the new plow that comes with the truck. So when we get the truck, the plow will always be there and we'll be ready to go. We did receive the balances of funding from the New York State Department of Transportation on August 17th for our CHIPS allocations. So with the combined Consolidated Highway Improvement Program balance, Pave New York, which is another program balance, and the Extreme Winter Recovery balance, total funds available as of this month is $139,272.68. And we did receive notification from the state that the amounts authorized for these programs may be subject to a reduction of 20% as a result of impacts from the COVID-19 pandemic. And as far as I know, we still haven't heard a definitive response from the state, but I know they're waiting for the federal government to react to some requests as well. We do have the directional signs for the village-to-village trail. We're waiting for the highway department to install these, and their schedule, of course, is busy with the water and everything else, so we're hoping those will be up soon. We generated no revenue for the sale of scrap metal during the month of August. So far this fiscal year, we've generated $1,017.40. And since the inception of this program in 2007, we've generated $32,519.52. And as you may remember from every month that I've been reading this, that proceeds go to the purchase of tools and equipment for the village highway, water, and material management department. Anyone interested in donating scrap metal can call the highway department at 758-8600, the village clerk, and the highway department will pick up scrap metal upon request. So it's been a good program for us. Not a big moneymaker, but when you add it all up, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I think it's a good service.
Redhawk infrastructure. Yeah, it's a good service, and I think they're happy to pick up and accommodate. And every now and then we get a few radiators and refrigerators, and that really pans out. So the Reddick sewer project, we've been working hard, and we've been waiting probably equally as hard on agencies that come through. We did have meetings via telephone conference calls on August 7th, 14th, and 28th. We met with our bond counsel, our engineers, and our land use council as well. Ed and I participated in those, and we're going through, I think, everything. All the easements are done. The final donation agreements and easements from the Reddick Sewage Works corporations are done. We reviewed discrepancies in the map plan report regarding a property that was on the map but not in the report. I think we worked that out. We discussed the permits required by New York State Department of Transportation regarding the right-of-way for public utilities. That was a question that I think we answered. We also went through a tax questionnaire by the bond council. We got that taken care of. So right now, as far as we know, our documents are being reviewed in Washington at USDA, and Ed and I had a quick introduction to our congressman, Mr. Delgado, and Ed spent some time with him, and we did ask him to maybe put in a good word for us in Washington with USDA to get this approval process moving forward so we can go out to bid as soon as we can. We also, on the cell tower, the elevated water storage tank, bids were released on August 3rd. Bids were due on August 25th. Both Lara and I opened the bids on the 25th at 2 o'clock p.m. in the village building, and we received, I think, 6 different estimates. So they ranged anywhere from $83,000 to $135,716. So we did send this to our engineers, and they are looking them over for qualifications, and hopefully they'll submit us with a recommendation so we can get this project started. And this project, as you may remember, is required by the FCC federal regulations for cell companies to guarantee backup power for the 4 current cellular communication companies renting space on or space adjacent to the village's elevated water storage tank. We also are looking at the Village of Redhawk Water and Sewer Administration Improvement Project. We did have a meeting on August 7th via conference call to review the operations of our SCADA monitoring systems, our water meter discrepancies, and water distribution system leak detections. And I think Ed kind of touched on that during Charlie's report. So we're looking at different trending values right now to see the test of pumps versus tank levels, and that there's a discrepancy in some of the monitoring systems. We also reviewed the billing software for correct application of multipliers that was discussed already. And Northeast Water Technology began implementing the leak detection water loss reduction program for the Village of Reddick water system in August. And this is based on a not to exceed amount that we agreed upon, established by the Board of Trustees. So testing continues as far as I know. They've made some recommendations so far that I think Ed may be talking about later on to fix some of the leaks that they have found, and they'll keep monitoring as we are going. And some of you may have noticed that we do have 2 crosswalk signaling devices installed. One is operational, which is on West Market and Benner Road. The other one, these are with the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, and the other one was at Morgan's Way and South Broadway, connecting Reddick Commons to the Emporium. And that's not operational, they're installed, but the buttons still have bags over them, so I guess they're not working yet. And Ed, I think, did follow up with DOT. We are expecting 2 additional markings on crosswalks, and these will be illuminated perimeter signs that you push a button, and instead of the strobe beacon, it'll just be the sign will light up. So just to notify drivers that someone's interested in crossing the street safely. So we are seeing progress. They did paint the crosswalks, and we're hoping the other 2 come in before winter because it gets dark and it's really hard to see people trying to cross those streets at night. The task force, no meetings again. I think the town's hoping that we could meet in September. Meantime, we did receive correspondences from the town planner on the proposed use tables. This is regarding short-term rental, annual operating permit in Chapter 112. And so that was all sent to the task force members for review. So when we do meet, we'll be able to hopefully conclude all the hard work we've been doing on that particular one. On some of the other committees that I sit on, there's been no meetings of the Reddick Town Zoning Review Committee, the Community Preservation Fund. We had no meetings. The current balance of the Community Preservation Fund as of August 31st is $1,521,247.54. And we are seeing an increase in this. As you may notice, there are a lot of properties that are turning over right now, and that's really benefiting, the Community Preservation Fund is benefiting from the sales of those properties. We did have a meeting at the Reddick Town Local Waterfront Revitalization Program Working Group, and we did a final review of the maps, and all of our work so far has been sent to the New York State Department of State for their review, and this will be prior to a forthcoming public comment period to be held by the Reddick Town Board. So we're still working on that. And Jay touched on the Village of Redhawk Zoning Review Committee, and we had a very productive meeting last Friday. We've kind of changed our strategy a little bit, not doing such a massive rezoning on the maps, but kind of amending the local zoning regs of the existing districts. So we're trying to minimize the change in the map, and this should be a smoother process through Dutchess County, and a smoother process for everything. So I think it will address some of the concerns that we've heard from people, and we'll move forward on that. So I think we're getting close to, getting seeker ready for the board to deliberate on, and hopefully make it a neg deck resolution for. And that's all I have, Ed.
Cool. Thank you, Brent. For everybody, as he was reading, I put some stars just to go back and revisit a few things. Today, with regard to his last comments about our zoning review committee, I circulated something off to the board where the different member municipalities that are in the Dutchess County mayors and supervisors group were talking back and forth on the currency of their comprehensive or master plans in their zoning world, and it's across the board. Some are 15 years plus old, some are a little newer, some they consider living documents where they keep modifying them as they go. But some of the towns were projecting that for them to change a town comprehensive plan would be $100,000. And I was saying, we don't have a hard number here, but we do know that one reason the county pushed back on our first shot at our local smaller zoning change was they thought we should be looking at a comprehensive plan change versus micro changes. So I was trying to say a comprehensive plan change is $40,000 to $60,000, somewhere in that range for us. How do we start thinking about that now, and where do we find the money, and where do we the expertise and so forth? It's not going to happen overnight. I'm thinking it could be as far out as 18 months, 2 years when this building I'm in comes off our bonding structure and frees up some money for us. It is something a long range task to consider. So thanks, Brent, on that report. But the other thing I wanted to get some board input on is the generator project. Like Brent said, we got those bids in and CTMail did review them. One thing that's slowing us down a little bit is we have the 3 tenants that are going to share it. We took the most recent tenant in and gave them a direct heads up. And for some reason in my head, I was presuming this project to be about $45,000, where our intention was to front the money and then wait for the tenants to chip in and reimburse us. But now it's $83,000, which is a bigger chunk of money for us to quote front. I'm not even sure that's the right word in this case. What I want to do is pull a T-Mobile lease, that's the most recent tenant up there, and then look at AT&T and the other lease that's up there, and just see with our consultant, if we do this in this build, it's still this construction season, we're going to need really hard commitment when these people are going to get us the money, so we're not running floating money on their behalf. So it's a little bit of a project there. So it's going to take me probably a week or 10 days to pull those contracts, look at them, and get the consultant up to speed. But I'm not looking to borrow this money in the $45,000 range. It seemed like we could get it through our own internal funding and then just get reimbursed quickly and be on with it. But that's something we're going to have to work on a little bit. So with regards to the crosswalk signal devices, it is really exciting to see them up. It's we have joked for 3 years on the FAST grant, whatever that acronym stood for, I forget now. But I've been in touch recently with the project engineer for DOT, and I'm very concerned. I said, how come only 2 are up? And he said, well, he's not sure. Those are the 2 that are in his project. So I've written to DOT, and he did indicate to me that they've inserted the perimeter ones back into his project to deal with. I have to keep on top of that too, because we all know that $88,000 from day one has been for the 4 flasher beacons. 2 of the RRFBs, and like Brent said, 2 were the perimeter types. But they are pretty awesome where they are. The 2 that are up, and it's what we wanted. We got to get those middle 2, the one by the library and the one by Village Hall here, so we can have to lean on DOT about that. The last thing, when we were introducing the meeting tonight, we talked about Kathy Treble and Brent in your Village Green report. I just want to put an asterisk. We'll be doing a fall planting, it looks like. And I know we circulated emails, you and Pearson and myself, on potential sites for tree for Kathy Treble. Is that in the works in your discussions and just not reported here, or should we remind somebody, or what should we do?
Yeah, we could do that.
Remind them?
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to get it somewhere. I don't know if there's room in Memorial Park, if there's a spot or not, or
Yeah, we can do that.
okay. You just went a little
Well,
robotic.
look,
Okay, keep saying some words, you good? Okay, all right. We'll keep working on that. Thank you, Brent.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Regular business. Everybody ready to work instead of listen here? We have firemen's at least 10 years passed by referendum townwide, includes Tivoli and Reddick fire companies. It's a well-administered, well-governed forum, and it relies on the fire company organization providing us a recap of who made points to qualify for the service award. It's essentially a mini version of a 401k where those that make the points, we fund with a $700 per year payment to an investment company, and it's in their name, and it's a defined contribution type funding. Usually by rule, they're supposed to get that to us by May 31 of a fiscal year, which makes sense because our fiscal year, I just misspoke, they're supposed to get us by March 31 of a fiscal year. Since our fiscal year expires on May 31, we just got it stamped in here September 2nd, 2020, and a lot of the data was compiled by them, looks like back in May of 2020. But for some reason, it just never came over, and they finally got it to us here. I did circulate as an attachment a couple things. There is a burden on our part to review those that qualified. I'll just hold something up. This is what I circulated to you all, and they post this in their firehouse back in the spring of each year. And that's step one, so they can self-manage who made the points and who didn't. If you look at that list, the names in black made the points, and the points are based on attendance at meetings, fire calls, drills, and miscellaneous events. Essentially, it's designed to get people to come and learn and make the calls and then get the reward of the LoSAP program. 17 folks by my count make it times $700. So we are budgeted properly. It's about the normal percentage that qualify. What we have to do usually in our meetings, we pass around in a motion format. There's another form where we say, yeah, we reviewed it and we're okay. And usually every board member signs this, including the mayor, and then we move it on to our investment company. Since we're not able to all be in the same room, I thought one way to get around it, it says there's an option on this page. You may submit a copy of the board resolution adopted to approve the 2019 records listing for posting in lieu of having the board members sign below. So I crafted resolution 18, which I shipped around. We can talk about it. I have it here printed in my packet. We're essentially, I do a bunch of whereases saying that we just got the info here in September. It looks what we've been provided with to be similar to other years. It's accurate, and it's been vetted on their side. I have sent it up to the administering company that directs the funding and actually prepares the final review and what we owe them. But we still have to do our part. They're just doing a preliminary review. We have to do our part. So I state the facts that we now have the order or the documents, and subject to Executive Order 2021, we can't be in common session. So I would like to have this resolution passed tonight that we would agree we'll attach this to the forms. And it authorized the mayor and the treasurer to take the next steps to get it processed. You might all recall that with the fire contract we have between us, the fire company, and the town, like the workers' comp premium, the town reimburses us 75% of those costs. So it's not just the village carrying this freight. To me, the important part of the resolution, I numbered it 18 from the clerk's books. The board has reviewed in a remote meeting and approved the LoSAP records and documents submitted. And the village will take the next set of required steps to process the papers both back to the fire company and to the service award financial company. This will include authorizing the mayor and treasurer to complete the next steps under the program rules. I gave a brief overview. This is out there circulated. I'd like to move forward in that regard. I don't know if anybody had any thoughts. I won't put it up as a motion yet. I want to just discuss it and get everybody's input. From what I can read on it, we get these color-coded, these are all mandatory forms that have to do with the LoSAP program. And
so this resolution is adequate, Ed, to
yeah,
instead of
as I read it, yes. What I read out loud there was that option. They said you may submit a copy of the board resolution adopted to approve the 2019, and the wording I put in there picks it up as best I can see. And
all right.
references Article 11A of the New York State General Municipal Law. It's like where the authority to do LoSAP begins. I do think it will work, yeah. So I don't know if you all have it there in front of you, but I read the resolve part. So we are, let's just make sure I have the right words. Board reviewed and remote meeting and approved the LoSAP records and documents submitted. And that form says the option we're allowed is you may submit a copy of resolution adopted to approve the 2019 records. So that's trying to pick up their wording so I can get it into this. So I would get more formal here. The board does have circulated digitally resolution 18 of the current year. I'm hearing interference. Who do I hear? Anyway, it's titled Resolution to Process LoSAP Documents. I cite the facts in a bunch of whereases, and then we're saying we'll authorize the mayor and the treasurer to take the next set of required steps to process the papers and move this so we can get the money moving to them. It's unfortunate in a way they've missed 6 months of economic investment time. But nothing we can do. We asked and reminded them quite a bit for this. I would then ask for a motion that we adopt 18. Is there? I'll make the motion. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Who was that?
Trap.
His name's already on there.
Yeah, that wasn't rehearsed. Let's see. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I'll vote yes. Mr. Kowalczyk?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
And Mr. Trapp, since you seconded, I guess you're for it, but what's your vote,
Yes.
sir? Okay. You. Let me put this back in its packet so it stays organized. It's a LoSAP packet. Next I had, I call it IMA review, which is intermunicipal agreement, town/village building department shared services. I'll talk a little bit. What it arises from is one of our big commercial properties in the village is on, we call it locally the chocolate factory. And part of it sits within the confines and jurisdiction of the village itself. And part of it is actually out in the town of Redhook. and what made this question arise, or this issue arise, was the property owner is doing a tax cert legal process where they're contesting the assessment, and part of it became, well, where are the boundaries and who are the taxing authorities for what parts of the building, and how do you make a formula to address that, and so forth. It's my understanding that case is not resolved or settled by judgment or negotiation, but it posed the question of who gets to do the fire inspections, who should do them, whose cycle should they be in, if parts in the village and parts of the town. And it didn't seem to make much sense to have two different fire inspectors going into different parts of buildings trying to figure out whose jurisdiction lay in half this room and half of that room, where we're lying to split a room in half or something. So town's legal people came up with this IMA, which we circulated, and I sent it to our council, McCabe and Mack. Unfortunately, they haven't gotten back to me by tonight's meeting. I went through and highlighted it and circulated it out to all of you. We'll take some input and so forth. I highlighted some areas that were of key interest, and part of it is there's an appendix in the back that seems to me to be one of the main driving parts. There's a section on page 6 that talks about services and fees. Well, it looks like if we use our building inspector, we would be using his authority, and the town would be accepting that authority, but we could bill the town for his services. And likewise, if we use their building inspector, we could expect a bill per hour for that person's services. My thinking is they should be the same dollar amount, and they should be big enough to cover our costs. So I'm recommending that we put $50 per hour there. It cites in the back pages, Exhibit C, it names building inspectors by name, a bunch of exhibits. What I'm thinking, board members, I don't split. Sometimes what we do, unless there's substantial change, bear with me, I'm seeing an internet unstable. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good now.
Can you hear me okay, guys? Yep. I'm thinking if we pass this shared services type agreement, it's off to council, like I said. If he comes back without any substantial change, I would like to be authorized to sign it and get it filed, because we do want to keep up on this account and rather not delay too many things. And like I said, we've done that once or twice in the past, unless there's some substantial change, which I would pass along. I don't know if you're all comfortable with that. It's right now, this particular document, like we said, it's between the town of Redhawk and the village of Redhawk. It mimics a lot of other shared service type agreements we have with them. The only question I have, like I said, it was drawn up by their attorneys, who we work well with, but it's their attorneys, not our attorneys. So I just need our guy to say, yeah, it makes sense, or if he had some non-major issue that we could just edit to make more clear. But if it's substantial, I wouldn't sign it. I thought we could do that in form of a motion, something to the effect that the village of Redhawk has been presented with an intermunicipal agreement between the town and village regarding municipal shared services -- building department. The mayor has sent the matter off to the village's council for review, and unless there are substantial changes, the mayor is authorized to sign it upon review by McCabe and Mack, the village's attorney, something to that effect. Anybody have any thoughts, disagreements, ideas?
Just one question, and I'm scanning the thing, and I'm sure the attorneys have thought of it. If the town's building inspector inspects a portion of the building in the village, and something goes wrong and somebody gets hurt, are we covered?
Well, I saw an indemnification clause. Let's flip to that. page 2, I see each party agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the other parties and their respective agents and employees from any cause, claim, action, liability, fine, penalty, or proceeding, including reasonable attorney's fees, arising directly or indirectly out of the negligent acts or omissions of the first party or its officers. I think that's the point.
Each party, that's the town and us, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody in the building, let's say a fire inspection's done, something's missed, somebody gets hurt, that's neither of the parties that this clause is talking about, correct?
Correct. Yeah, this is referencing each party. The paragraph above, these are probably questions, Jay, we can ask counsel, but
Okay,
paragraph
that's
above.
all. You know,
Yeah.
every time I do one of those inspections, it really makes me nervous, and I just want to, you know, you need to. I don't know.
Yeah, we would be one of the parties, but yeah, above it, it talks about indemnity. Each party agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the other parties and agents. So we're not going to point fingers. Nowhere does it seem to talk about a third party. It's just the two parties to this agreement. Yeah.
That's all.
I don't think it would change that, but I'll talk to counsel.
Okay, cool.
Any other thoughts, questions? So I offered it as a motion. I can help Larry.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is somewhere in this intermunicipal agreement that this is this a specific for the chocolate factory?
Just for the chocolate factory?
No, I would say not. I don't see that anywhere. I think it applies if and when we ever choose to share a building inspector for some reason. You know, it's not a specific case. It's the matter that drove it to arise.
Well,
Is that particular?
If
account.
you recall, in days past, when we had a building inspector in the village that was also a business owner, when it came time for his establishment to be inspected, we would use the town building inspector to inspect it because of the conflict. So there's another instance when this might come to a purpose.
Good point. Yeah, that's very good. And let's say somebody was debilitated or off on vacation, or something where some unforeseen short-term thing. I don't think it's a precursor. You know, it's not intended to be a precursor to totally sharing services or anything. It's not our intent. And as you can see, this one's titled "Draft for Discussion Purposes Only." So, but anyway, we've had some thoughts, discussion. I'm not going to run out and sign it until council gets back to us if we pass this motion. I'll lean on Olson a little bit more, and I'll bring up the two issues, ideas that just came up. You know, how do we clarify it's not to be used routinely, and then where do we intend to share off or disperse our building inspection team? So, anyway, I said a lot of words for Lara to write down. We can tune that up, but she's good at that kind of stuff. She's a paralegal of sorts, right? Legal secretary. So I would, we have a motion and a second. We had discussion. I think we'll vote. I'll vote yes. Mr. Trapp?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalczyk?
Yes.
Ms. Norris?
Yes.
And Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Okay, so it's carried. Thank you, folks.
Such
Well,
enthusiasm all the way around.
Some of those exciting topics, right? IMA for building inspection. Oh, my God. 4 years from now, who's going to have that file and remember that? Anyway, more exciting and more contemporary and more on point with the modern era. Let me just get a couple exhibits here. We're circulating the link For public session number 1, with regard to the New York State requirement that we work and collaborate with different agencies and amongst ourselves and our residents to redesign and reinvent police operations here in our particular operation and across the county and across the state. In line with that, like you all know, we've been reporting, we've had discussions where the county has offered a collaborative approach. We're working with the other municipalities that are home to a police agency. That'd be Rhinebeck. I've gone through them before with the Pine Plains, Millerton. And then you get down to South County, there's some of the towns and villages also have police departments. It takes a lot of expertise. And as you know here, our system, we're operated by a sergeant and a lot of part-time officers. It's a very complex project. We've sent down several of our policies. The key one is on use of deadly force. It's being reviewed and commented upon by bigger agencies within the county. But part of it is we have to have our own listening session, and County Department of Human Rights, or Human Rights Commission is the right term, selected to do ours on September 26th, which is fine. It gives us more time to get the word out. Like we said at other meetings, it's regionally based. Ours will just be for the Northern Dutchess area, specifically really designed to pick up Rhinebeck and Redhook. Goes out into, I think, Clinton and Milan, but they don't have police agencies. So we're looking for ways to get it out there. We asked to put up on our website. We've circulated a bunch of different ways. It's here in this meeting notice with the link, and we have a flyer, a glossy color flyer posted on our doors. We want people to know about it. So if you're watching this on Panda between now and September 26th, it's 12 days. People get the word out, hear about it, and we want your input and your ideas on reform that you would see important for us to think about. It is what's known as a listening session. We're not going to be presenting a ton of information. I booked some time on the slot for myself, and others are welcome to from the board, mainly to I'll certainly be on the session, but I want to be sure if incorrect or misconstrued facts are being relayed out as true facts. I'd like to have time to at least rebut some of that if that's needed. But anyway, that session for everybody, again, on Panda, it's September 26th. The mayor of Rhinebeck and I are thinking of doing a PSA on Panda just to get it out there too, versus their rolling count announcements. Something so people will know about this. It's important. 3 to 5 p.m. The link is there. And if you have questions, call Village Hall or come look at our door. The link is posted there. In regard to the project, more for the board and tonight, we do countywide, they have created a stakeholders group that involves a wide spectrum of demographics across the county. It looks like it'd be preferable if we create our own here too. My thinking was we'd wait for the 26th for that meeting to occur and see who stands up to be the most active. And they could possibly be people we would put on a stakeholder group. The second part of it is I circulated to all of you. I thought it was a good outline and something you all should keep and the public should hear. In the big booklet, the guideline from New York State, which is available to people online, and all our board members have it. One of the final pages talks in Appendix B. It's something in the end that the mayor, myself, will have to sign for our police agency. This will be across the state. This is the same document. And I think it's important that people hear. It's called Appendix B, New York State Police Reform and Reinvention Collaborative Plan Certification Form. And it asks that the chief executive of the local government attest to the following things pursuant to Executive Order number 203 issued by Governor Cuomo on June 12th, 2020. And like the board knows, this is due by April 1, 2021. All those processes has to happen. But the key things we have to work on are check the box 1. The local government has performed a comprehensive review of current police force deployments, strategies, policies, procedures, and practices. Number 2, the local government has developed a plan attached hereto to improve such deployments, strategies, policies, procedures, and practices. That'll be known as the plan. Local government has consulted with stakeholders, including but not limited to membership and leadership of the local police force, members of the community, with emphasis in areas with high numbers of police and community interactions, interested in nonprofit and faith-based community groups. Semicolon, the local office of the district attorney, the local public defender, and local elected officials regarding the plan. Another box, the local government has offered the plan in draft form for public comment to all citizens in the locality, and prior to adoption of the plan by the local legislative body, has considered the comments submitted. And the last box is the legislative body of local government has ratified or adopted the plan by local law or resolution. There's a lot there. Part of what we're doing with the county is looking at, like you said, our internal policies and getting their guidance. There is within the police world what's called accredited agencies, and the sheriff's office is accredited, and they have paid staff, full-time, all kinds of levels of expertise that we'll take into consideration, but it doesn't become our plan. We then look at that and have to make our own acceptance or variations of that. We're not locked into that, whatever we're provided with from the county review. So it's a big task, and the 26th we'll get going on it, and it's going to be work. You did see another mini directive from the state, which I circulated, unrelated to police design, reform and redesign, but it was I think they called it pandemic protection, a couple of P's in it, but essentially it's codifying what we did in March, how we put our people to remote, reduce staff, reduce building and public interaction, but they want something in a written plan format by April of 2021 also. So it's another big project for a small village with limited staff on board, and the staff that's here work hard at the things they do day in, day out. There's not a lot of room for new projects in our group of employees. So I wanted to keep you up to speed on that. Skip water and sewer planning for a minute. Police CBA extension with MOU in place, the little code words there. CBA is a collective bargaining agreement. You will recall that we chose not to renegotiate a full 3-year or even a 2-year police contract this year for mainly COVID and economic related reasons. We had no idea what the future would bring for revenue, and to be projecting benefit and salary decisions with no clear understanding of what our revenue streams will or might not be. We agreed to a flat 3% raise for folks, which was accepted, and we all approved and signed an MOU, memo of understanding. The union since came back, they would like the MOU to be within a 1-year extension of the contract with no other changes in the contract. At first I objected, not fully understanding why we would need to re-sign the contract, which essentially is not going forward except for the raise decision. I sent it to Labor Council. He saw no problem with it. The only changes in the contract are they add the MOU as an appendix, and they put the year, instead of ending in May 31, 2020, it all ends May 31, 2021, which means we'd have to start negotiating around January. The complicating factor will be there may be changes with the redesign and reform work that we're doing that may rise to the level of contractual changes. right now, there's not much in our contracts with UPSU that deal with behavior or police policy. There are sections that deal with applying discipline, but they don't really get into the day-to-day operations or determining our operational policies. But anyway, the reason I say it is usually we just negotiate benefits and salary and more monetary financial side. What'll come out of the redesign is a little early to project. But I know there is talk with some of the bigger cities and unions. There's a lot of cities and so forth. The unions are directly involved in a lot of operational issues. We don't have that here in our contracts, fortunately. But anyway, what I wanted to do was David Wise is counsel for labor relations plus, and he reviewed what I sent down to him, and we had already approved the MOU. Like I said, that's a done deal. We're already paying them based on that. I'm just looking. Who's making all the noise? Brent, is that you? No. Look, I have to mute somebody, but I don't know who to mute. Do we have a stranger on the account? Who's on here?
No, I think it's Brent, but he's muted himself now.
Okay, good. Sounds he's anyway, bear with me a minute here.
I put some oil on my stool.
Oh, good. Yeah, it sounds like you're hammering or something. As I see it, we've got, this is the collective bargaining agreement, and you can see down here, it expired May 31, 2020, and the union kind of typed in extending it to 2021 and emailed it to me. I'm just going to find the MOU that we put in. We signed the MOU back on June 16th, 2020, with that 3% flat increase across part-time, full-time, everybody. To repeat, I think it's better to have council review it. Council reviewed it, sees no problem. They gave me an email saying, okay, to sign extension to 2021. Since it involves all of us, I would just ask for a motion that the mayor be authorized to sign the extended collective bargaining agreement between Village of Redhawk and the United Public Service Employees Union, the police department contract. The only change is an MOU already signed in June of 2020 that gives a 3% raise. No other segments of the contract have changed or modified. So move. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All right. Like I said, I wasn't sure why they were doing that, but council says it's appropriate. We'll do it. I'll do a roll call. I'll vote yes. Mr. Trapp? Jay Trapp, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kowalczyk?
Yes.
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
And Ms. Norris?
Yes.
Okay, Larry, do you have that?
Yes.
Don't confuse me. Come on. Let's see. What I wanted you to, I hand wrote in one agenda item. We all worked last month on resolution 17. That was what Brent referenced to buy that even weight snowplow truck. What we did at that meeting was found the funding structure to do it without taking a bond or a loan, essentially using CHIPS money and our own internal sources from other budgets and some reserve accounts. What happened, Brent talked about a little bit, we were led to believe there was two 2020 year trucks available in the market at state contract price plus that $800. And a day or two later, the highway people coordinating for me told me, no, those trucks are no longer available, which was disappointing and a bother to me. I was like, what do you mean? I just cannot believe what they sold in the 2 days between. And the dealers were aware we wanted to move ahead, but we just can't unilaterally, a mayor can't commit a $45,000 number on a purchase contract. So, long story short, they can still get it on state contract, but the 2021s are the option now, and they're roughly $1,700 more money. And all our wording in Resolution 17 built the product to be $45,000, like $38,000 on the truck itself, and $7,000 on the plow body, plow structure. We still need to do it, and they, like Brent said, they feel they can limp the current truck through to get the snow season going. It still looks like it's that February delivery date that Brent mentioned. It's a little baffling to me how in an economy it takes this long, even for, this is not that specialized a truck, but like we all recall, we're going to take the flat body off our current truck, and all that part would stay the same. What I want to ask the board to consider is moving the CHIPS piece of Resolution 17 up, I'm going to say another $2,000 just to cover, to make it a little round. In 17, we had a number there. We have to pick up this extra cost of the truck somewhere, and we have the money in CHIPS, and it seems to me the best spot to do that. I'm thinking if we just enhance or do an amendment to Resolution 17 here tonight, saying the CHIPS piece will bounce up. I have to hunt through my stack here for, I know I grabbed Resolution 17, I just have to find it. I don't know if anybody has it.
Didn't we just talk about potential for decreases in CHIPS funding? I mean, might that not play in here?
It could, but what we're doing this year, Charlie, so far in CHIPS world, we've only spent catch basin drainage type money in the tune of, I think the bids were like 13,000, but we only did about, I think it's in the vouchers this time, about 6,000 or 8,000. Brent might somewhere we some of the CHIPS projects
But right now,
chose not to. Brent, we can't get you. Say it again. Brent, we couldn't hear you if you can hear us.
Yeah, we just got. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so we got the balances from the DOT the end of August. So we had 139,272. So even if you took a 20% reduction on that, we still should have the money available for the truck.
Okay, so there's still plenty of wiggle room in there.
Yeah, that's what we were figuring.
Okay.
Yeah, Brent had captured in his report, but this is the letter we got from the state, and it's got 117,000 plus the 21.5. That's the 139 Brent was adding up there. What I'm saying is, part of your question, Charlie, is on point. We're not going to spend a lot of CHIPS money this year on purpose on normal highway upgrade and repaving anywhere. We're spending a little bit on drainage. So we do have room within the CHIPS allocations. We're not going to be stretching our exposure there at all. I'm just trying to find my Word document with Resolution 17. I'm a little loath to go probing into my desktop. Does anybody have? I just have to look for 17 here in my stacks. I think we took about 20,000 out of CHIPS in 17.
I'm more than happy to take your and Brent's word for it.
Yeah, I found 17. Yeah, we did. Let's see, the village. Blah, blah, blah. Let me find the section. Okay, the amounts, the breakout was 22.5 from CHIPS, and then we took some out of maintenance streets, some out of the highway CD reserve fund, some out of the water fund balance, because these trucks do share water and regular highway work. And as rest of the resolution, we said when we sell the old truck, it's going to repay the highway reserve fund. So the amount was 22,500 from CHIPS. It looks like, to make it round, if we had another $2,000, it'd be $24,500. So we have that per our reports and our accounting information.
Even if we take a 20% cut from.
Yeah, it would be good. I think it's the best way to do it instead of hitting our other funds.
Okay.
So I'd like to just, if Lara could make some notes, if we could amend Resolution 17 of 2020, paragraph dealing with CHIPS, line 5110.3. We're going to move from $22,500 to $24,500. I can prepare a new, amended resolution to that effect. I would move that. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Trapp, you good? Yes?
Yes, that was a second.
Okay. And then Mr. Kowalczyk,
Yes.
Ms. Norris,
Yes.
and Mr. Lang.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Well,
Can we get some kind of a, is it going to be an amended form for that resolution number 17?
yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll do, yes, I will move the CHIPS number from 22, as I read it, my intention to move 22,500 up to 24,500. I'll call it Resolution 17 amended, and we'll circulate that.
Okay.
In the world of purchasing, another thing came up since the agenda was done. The court and all of us here have pretty sophisticated copiers. We use Dell copiers. They do everything from scanning to faxing and copying, and they're tied into the laptops or desktops, depending on the office. And Lara had a meeting with the Bell copier person. The court copier was coming off its lease in the near future, and they're recommending that we move ahead and lease another one. When we lease, it ends up, in my opinion, being less costly because what they cover is delivery, setting up the machine, converting the software to the new printer on the laptops and desktops of the staff. They remove and wipe all the data off the copiers, and they terminate the old lease. When you sign vouchers, you'll see we actually pay a leasing company, Delage, D-E-L-A-G-E. It's like, you always wonder, who the heck are they? It's not Bell Copier that we lease it from. They finance it through that company. They gave us a nice descriptive bunch of color documents. I included the judge in conversations. He's okay with it. The lease includes 2,000 copies a month and all the related toner that goes with that, so we don't have to go buying toner and so forth. Apparently the staff just says we're getting a toner memo from the machine and they drop off a new toner pack. What I wanted to do is, as we know, the judge oftentimes has access to a lot of court grants. He's going to check and see if the grants would cover it as far as a lease versus a purchase. I talked to the dealer. A new machine would be $5,300, and that there'd be no service. We'd have to take a service contract out. According to him, it's cheaper just to lease, and we're talking. It's like the current lease is $173 per month. The new one would be $16 less, which is $157 a month. So I think it's better to have a good copy machine. I don't know if Lara had a name, but she met the fellow. I didn't meet him directly, but it's not a new expense. It's already in our budgets. It's actually a few bucks less, and we don't have to worry about the tech issue of getting a service contract and a technician in. They seem to do a real good job of taking care of the copiers for us. So since it's a financial transaction, the lease is ending, I'm going to recommend that we stay with the same supplier and continue it. As we said, they also supply our other machines, the big ones in police and regular clerk's office. We've been happy with them. So I would move that we take a new lease with Dell copiers to replace with like kind of quality the machine we have. It's the same brand and same company, same manufacturer. And the lease would include service and all related costs up to 2,000 copies a month. And in the interim, we'll see if the judge can find a way to box the lease cost into a grant. Either way, we have to go ahead with it. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any other thoughts, discussion? And when the court's here, they work in their own office. They don't go run around to other copiers or anything. And it seems like, you know, it's a good system and it doesn't take any more space. You might know the court's chambers are pretty cramped if you look in there, but it's the same footprint according to the supplier. So anyway, Lara, do you have any thoughts? I mean, from when you met the guy, seemed like,
No, they're excellent. We've never had an issue. They're excellent customer service.
good. So I moved, I think I heard a second.
Charlie, did you second that? Because everyone kind of said it at the same time.
Oh,
I was the one person that didn't second that.
Oh, okay.
oh,
Who did? Jay was, I'll put trap.
yeah, I heard,
Sure.
I didn't look up to see what voice it was. I was so hard at work looking at papers. So we have a second by Trap. I'll vote yes. Blundell, Trap.
Yep.
And then Ms. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Kowalczyk. Brentley, you there? Come in over.
Yes.
No? Okay. And Mr. Lang.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What do we got here? 8:40. What I would consider, this is a weird week in that we're supposed to have a workshop on
Yes.
Thursday. I heard somebody say something. Normal schedule.
Yes.
I think we try to vote. You have a card. Hold up a card or something. Are you voting yes, Brent?
No, I'm on the phone.
I'm losing Brent.
I'm
But anyway.
listening on the phone.
Okay.
My connection's bad.
It's funny because there's a picture of you lingering on the screen. But anyway, this week we would normally have the third Thursday of the month, which would be our workshop Thursday, but I don't feel we need it unless the board has something. I think we covered all the big issues tonight, and some of it, we have to do some homework on some of the issues we touched on tonight. I'd be inclined to cancel it unless the board member disagrees or has any other thoughts. Not hearing any, I would move that we not hold the workshop meeting for a couple of reasons. This one's already underway and we covered a lot of ground, and somehow these Zoom meetings don't quite fit totally with the workshop mode. Workshop is a little more casual and talking ideas, and it just seems like we still have some technical issues. We can meet. If we need a special meeting, we can call something, but I can't think of anything right now. I think we have to get, I would move that we cancel the, whatever that would be. Let's see. September 17th. 17th.
Yeah.
Workshop meeting. I would move we cancel it. Is there a second?
Second.
Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed?
Second.
Okay. I don't hear any opposition, right? All right. I think that is my voice worn out and dried out, but we got through the items on the agenda and one or two I added. Is there any comment from the board or items you need to bring up that we didn't talk about? I guess I should say, are there any items? I'm going to look at the screens here. I see board members on. Danielle Maloney's on there. She's the manager at Panda. She's recording. So but to be perfectly accurate, I'll ask, is there anybody from the public on that we're not seeing in a participant screen that has any public comment. Hearing none, we do need to pay the bills. So I would make the normal motion that we pay bills after audit. Is there a second?
Second.
Anybody opposed? Brent, I think we're done. Anybody see anything we didn't hit on the agenda? I don't. I think we're good. Brent, would you like to make your closing argument?
Yep. I'd like to make a motion that we
Second.
adjourn this evening's meeting.
All right,
Second.
I heard a second. All in favor? Anybody opposed? All right, I don't hear any opposition. Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
See you, everybody.
Night.